Hi there everyone, my name's Alex Frew, as you probably know from listening to previous podcasts. Today I've got a very special event for you. I'm interviewing a well-known Ayrshire poet, songwriter and journalist, Robert Neal. And Robert's going to talk to us about some of his work, and then he's going to read some of his poems for us. So Robert, how did you get started as a writer?
It's something I've done ever since I was quite young, and I think the sort of, even when I was a kid I used to draw, like, when the Eurovision Song Contest was on, I used to draw like cartoon versions of bands I'd imagined in my head, and then I just thought to myself, oh, I need to write some songs for these bands.
So that was the beginning of it all?
The beginning of it all, yes. There was good names for the bands. There was a singer who was completely bald apart from a Kiss Curl called Zed Eddy. And there was Dusty Brown, which he got ripped off.
Yeah, he get nicked for a television program.
He did, that was before. And there was also another band which was a combination of different characters called Gaga Tata Chi Chi. And that
was one of the name Lady in front of it.
That was one before Kajagoogoo and bands like that. So
yeah.
It was rather prolific.
You were ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
So, you've been an attendee of a lot of events in the southwest of Scotland, and you used to be a regular attendee at the night that I hosted along with a friend of mine, Amanda.
Yeah.
It was in the Portman Hotel.
Yes.
And that's the event you used to attend where we really got to know each other.
Yes, and then it get cancelled because because somebody doesn't have the brain to think that you can write poetry. You're not writing always in the first person.
Yeah, there was a sort of journalistic intervention there that ended the poetry night.
They said Robert Burns would be spinning in his grave or bubbling, or was it some Queen Scottish like. But the thing is you've got to remember Robert Burns did all his body stuff. No body as in B-O-D-Y, as in body as in B-A-W-D-Y. You know what I mean? So, and he'd all that verse and stuff like about people defecating on bricks and stuff like that. So, I mean, each to their own. But what was really amazing about it, so we decided to shut the poetry event down because of one of my poems, and I think somebody else's were worse, but that's just my opinion. But
however, it's not something we really need to get into great detail.
The Portman's fine now.
I'm just mentioning it to you because that's where I met you. I first got to know you, Robert.
Different owners now, so.
Yeah.
But what I thought was hilarious, the band does, then about 2 weeks later, they paid host to the Scottish Defence League, which
who were kind of fascist.
No, who are extremely fascist.
Exactly. But of course, that didn't really put you off in the end. You kept writing.
No.
You've been quite a prolific writer, haven't you?
But I tend to, I don't know, maybe my own worst critic. Maybe I don't think it's good enough. Maybe, I don't know. I tend not to do as much events now because I get quite bored with them and I'll be honest with you, because I grew up listening to folk like Attila the Stockbroker. There was Stephen Wells, who was Stephen Wells, a journalist. There was obviously there was John Cooper Clarke, and there was also Benjamin Zephaniah. They were all kind of you heard a lot of them in the John Peel show. I actually did sessions for John Peel. But
were you a fan of John Peel? Did you?
That's all the music. Aye. It was the only place you could actually hear kind of have decent music. Sometimes it was that sort of. I always I like all types of music.
I was going to say, talk to me about the music side of things because I think that's important to you. You're big into music, aren't you?
It is, but I think I don't know. Most of the songwriters and songs that do tend to have a narrative. There is the sort of throwaway pop and sort of kind of rock and roll stuff as well, which is, not everything has to be deep and meaningful, but and there's some really great songwriters out there still, because I kind of fell into the kind of following the more sort of American singer-songwriters for a while there, because I think they tend to have a sort of good grasp of kind of social commentary and things that really harmful, like Dave Alvin, Steve Earle, Bruce Springsteen, John Mellencamp, which is and folk maybe say, oh, Bob Dylan deserves to be in there, but I don't think Bob Dylan's done anything great since Desire. And
how long ago was that, Robert?
I can't remember. 76 maybe?
Yeah, so it's a wee while ago.
A wee while ago. But to be honest with you, I think Bob Dylan's a bit too obtuse and he's deliberately so. But I did hear an amusing story the other day there, which is it was John Mellencamp was talking about Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan used to phone John Mellencamp up and ask him what he thought of certain lyrics, and John Mellencamp just says, stop. That's basically we phone him up in the middle of the night. And then John Mellencamp says, "You're Bob Dylan, just stop it." In other words, I don't know if that was a praise or.
I mean, there was a song called Bob Dylan Sucks. I think it was by Rich Hall, a comedian. Do you like Rich Hall?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It was quite funny because I actually wrote a song to the tune of Hank Williams, the night Hank Williams came to town.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a song made famous by Johnny Cash.
Right.
I wrote it about Bob Dylan, the night Bob Dylan came to town. And a lot of the stuff that I wrote in that is echoed by Rich Hall. I don't know who wrote what first and I don't care. But and obviously came folk like Eric Bogle with a pop at him. And even Benny Hill did it in What a World. Some along those lines. I see you studied that one. Well.
Yeah. So, talking about your own poetry, would you say that you've got a bit of social commentary in there then?
There's a wee bit of social commentary. I like to think it just sort of kind of. I remember when Pam Ayres first came out, she was kind of sniffed upon the kind of. There's too much pretentiousness in poetry. It's like anything. It's like that's why I stopped going to a lot of events because you're getting lists of endless prose by folk that are about maybe early 20s or even younger.
Wait a minute. You said the phrase endless prose, and I so agree with you in that because a lot of the people that I listen to this, it's as if they're reading off a recipe or something that doesn't rhyme, but it also doesn't have non-rhyming rhythm, if you know what I mean.
And they're all going on about how hard their life's been in that. I mean, I think probably the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to them, they missed out on a Pokemon event day or something. And that's just.
So your own roots kind of working class, Robert?
Working class stroke, you want poetry to, well, personally I think you want to appeal to as many people as you can, but I don't think you're going to appeal to as many people as you can by sort of being too obscure. I mean, I was at a poetry event where somebody was, I was warned about this poem before I went, and somebody was actually describing a sparrow they saw in Sardinia or something like that. And I was like, and I think like,
oh, that rings a bell.
Andy Fleming says, why do you describe a sparrow in Sardinia when you get out one out your back door? And it's just to prove to people who've travelled, and there's a certain. See,
it's when you introduce yourself as I am an ambassador. I am an ambassador to Sardinia. Oh, I'm writing about a sparrow I saw in Sardinia.
There's that. Then there's a lot of kind of pretentiousness involved in it. You know, I mean, I got accused of writing puns, not poetry.
By a man
that calls himself Oliver Pist, who named himself as a pun. So yeah. Hilarious, Oliver, if you're listening. Thanks. And then they'll get the lunatics going about conspiracy theories that will not mention his name. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. The initials come to mind.
No.
No, not even mention those.
Anyway, there's that, and then there's woe is me. I mean.
Well, you see, when I first started doing poetry in the southwest of Scotland, we went to Glasgow. I'm not going to mention any names, but one particular person would get up at Words and Music at Sammy Dow's and read the most miserable kitchen sink drama poetry that I've ever heard in my life. And I used to think to myself, you know, I come to places like this to escape. So myself and Andy Fleming, our colleague, we were just cheerful. We just wanted to be cheerful, so we just used to put on an act, you know. And that's been my approach to poetry ever since. So are you going to read us some of your poems? I don't know, sure. Well, it's a poetry broadcast.
Is it? Oh, you never told me that.
I never told you that, but...
Oh, right, okay.
There might have been a clue. A clue in the name.
Alright, we'll go for... can we go for a serious one first then?
Yeah.
It's called the Wooden Soldiers of Rozelle.
Explain to me a bit about what Rozelle is.
It's a country park.
And where is it?
It's in Ayrshire. It's in Ayrshire, Ayrshire.
Is it near Alloway?
It's near
Which is
Alloway,
the village where...
It's got an art
Bob's going.
gallery. You've been there still. Kidding on your no. It's got an art,
In case we get 2 million listeners and half of them are in...
It's got an art gallery. Some lovely tam o'shanter paintings by the... What's the guy's name?
Gaudi!
Gaudi, I don't know that Gaudi, know the one from Barcelona.
No, I know him.
No, him, the other guy. What do you call him? Puts his stuff in.
And what are the wooden soldiers then? They're a tribute?
The soldiers are made of wood.
But they're a tribute to the World War One or
say,
something?
World War One. I don't know, maybe one and two, I don't know. So here goes the wooden soldiers of Rozelle. I gaze upon them often and ponder the stories they could tell, of the memories they commemorate, the wooden soldiers of Rozelle. Would they describe in detail the horror and the hell? How I wish they could speak, the wooden soldiers of Rozelle. I close my eyes and hear the cacophony of war so well, for they can hear it too, the wooden soldiers of Rozelle. The young boys turn to men as comrades beside them fell. Their features grow harder, the wooden soldiers of Rozelle. The essence of their souls, stripped by bullet and by shell. You can see it in their faces, the wooden soldiers of Rozelle. A church bell chimes in the distance. Do they hear a liberty bell? I hope they find the peace they gave us, the wooden soldiers of Rozelle.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes, that's quite evocative. Who made the statues? Or the...
I don't know, it's just a carving. Somebody said I should give it to South Ayrshire Council, but I don't know. Should I? Should I send it to them?
Well, do you know what? These things are always welcome. And that's not, to me, your usual style. I mean, I have heard you do other serious things, but mostly you're quite light-hearted, would you say, in your approach to...
I am...
observant, light-hearted?
Aye, it's a kind of... I think everybody's got a bit of kind of... Aye, bit of light-heartedness, a bit of kind of... Okay, I'll give you the quest. Right, here's the quest. We walked for mile upon mile. Then we walked a few miles more. Suffice to say that we did ramble, further than ever before, past nymphs so happy and delightful, and many a scary dragon. We kept each other going when the others started flagging. Through the foul-smelling swamps, over mountains made of glass, those tattooed guardians near the opening, well, we carefully sneaked past, witnessing many a setting sun, giving away to the rising moon. Why are the toilets always so far away? Tell us, Mr. G.D. Witherspoon. That's it.
Yeah, keep going.
So the most, the exception, the Portman, the most controversial thing I've ever done was it was a poem just about walking past the Wellington after the bell.
Really?
And it's not really much of a poem, it's just a list. And that got me into trouble because two girls that went to the Wellington actually took umbrage to it one night and stormed out of the place.
Can't beat a list poem, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do that one.
Okay.
Should I do it now?
Yeah. Come on.
But,
Please.
okay. Walking past the Wellington after the bell. Discovery, discovery, Audi, discovery. Audi, Audi, Audi. Mercedes, discovery, Audi, Audi. Mercedes, mini. Discovery, discovery, Audi, Audi. Volkswagen, discovery. That's it.
Yeah. The simplest ones are the best.
I like to keep poems short. It's a kind of thing, if you don't like it, then another one will
Well, let's talk about that for a brief second, because...
I said no briefs.
well,
Pants.
You and I, you and I go to these, have been to these poetry events, and have you ever noticed that some people seem to, and it's in typing as well, they seem to go from the top of the page and just keep typing till they get to the bottom of the page,
Yeah.
and it's hundreds of words.
Yeah, aye, and it's meandering and
Meandering and unstructured.
unstructured, yeah, that's a...
It's not a criticism.
Aye, it is. It is. Some of them are dreary. I mean, it's when people describe their own poems as epic, and they're not describing them as epic because they're any good, it's just because they're bloody long.
Exactly.
So this is a little short one I wrote. I don't know if you've heard this one before. It's called Proposal. Proposal. Together we walk these streets we know so well. You look so pristine, you make my bosom swell. You have been a constant at my side for many a year. I feel so charmed and lucky to have you right here. Age has not withered you, no, not one bit at all. That day we got together, I can still fondly recall. I know I would be so proud if you would be my wife. Never thought I'd get so attached to a Sainsbury's bag for life. At least you laugh. That's the kind of stuff I do. And
Well, this is your platform, Robert. You do
do.
what you want.
Today my fascist girlfriend was up to
What was that? My fascist girlfriend? That's quite entertaining.
I don't know, it's a bit. I did write one for the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle,
Oh, good. I've not heard that one.
which turned out to be quite. I'll let you hear it, you can keep it in a. Whatever you want to do it. This is called Meghan. Well, Prince Harry, he did marry that actress Meghan Markle. I heard she went to Bellarmine and got a vajazzle that did sparkle. It has been said to be part of the family is like a life sentence. She herself was adamant that she'd have a dazzling entrance. Now she's been propelled to the height of fame throughout the land, despite of being in Get Him to the Greek with that twat Russell Brand. To many she will be known for her roles in Suits and Fringe. Does her mixed race background make old Philip cringe? Still to Harry though, she's the finest and the best. And she even has the same hairdresser as Kim Kardashian West.
Very good.
There you go.
Very prescient.
There was a thing as well, I was saying, I looked upon Scottish comedy thing, I didn't comment because I thought, I think people are afraid to speak up about what they believe in. I mean, I was saying for ages that a certain political party had a kind of stranglehold in Scotland and they were just actually fleecing money off us all.
Yeah, again, no names.
Yeah, no names, I'll not mention any names, allegedly.
So what are you giving us next, Robert?
I'm just trying to think, what can I do?
I liked your fascist girlfriend. No.
I might do that one. Blame the BBC about the first.
Okay, blame the BBC. Please do that one.
Have you heard of Blame the BBC?
Yeah, I have, and I liked it.
Okay, this is one I was afraid to do, but as again, I think sometimes you get proven right through time. This is called Blame the BBC. You say the weather is terrible. It's the worst you do decree. You don't blame the elements, no. You blame the BBC. Your girlfriend came home and found you in bed with her best friend Lee. You didn't blame your raging hormones, no. You blamed the BBC. Then there was that time your cat gets stuck up in a tree. You didn't blame the dog that chased it, no. You blamed the BBC. Remember that time you lost your job at the biscuit factory? You didn't blame your alcoholism, no. You blamed the BBC. What about that time your breath stank of rancid brie? You didn't blame your oral hygiene. No, you blamed the BBC. And that time you were arrested for downloading pornography. You said you weren't a sexual deviant. No, you just blamed the BBC. Remember those times Alex Salmon came across as a dick on TV? You didn't blame his complete incompetence, no, you blamed the BBC. When you stood side by side with Sheridan and Souter, it made no sense to me. For their clear lack of compassion, you blamed the BBC. Lack of funding for education seems to be your party's priority. And when the good people tell you where to go, you'll still blame the BBC.
It's funny that because
Yeah,
I've heard these rumours that a lot of people think that the BBC and the licence fee and all this kind of thing are a huge problem. But I don't know. I'm ambivalent about it. I do think we need a national broadcaster, but I do find that BBC has been increasingly vilified in recent years. And this is your famous poem.
Right.
You performed this on stage.
I performed this in the middle of Glasgow,
Yep.
which I thought was quite a brave thing to do.
Yep.
This is called My Fascist Girlfriend, which was inspired by being banned for the Fortin. So I thought, what if you fell in love with somebody who didn't have the same political and religious beliefs as you? So I took it to the extreme. Or is it a true story? This is called... I usually do this as a song, but my voice is shot to hell just now. You can probably hear it because I've got long COVID. Great fun. And this is called My Fascist Girlfriend. She was a member of the SDL. Had a swastika tattoo that she hid well. For the Orange Band, she played the flute. She looked kind of sexy in her sash and suit. I met her one day on the Esplanade, drunk out of her mind, singing Penny Arcade. My fascist girlfriend, not politically correct. My fascist girlfriend, lacking in respect. My fascist girlfriend had me jumping through hoops. My fascist girlfriend hated minority groups. She invited me for a romantic walk. I found it hard to hear and harder to talk. I really wish that she'd told me before. We would be joined by 2,000 more. I never thought when we began to court that usually we'd have a police escort. My fascist girlfriend, not politically correct. My fascist girlfriend, lacking in respect. My fascist girlfriend had me jumping through hoops. My fascist girlfriend hated minority groups. Well, she cooked me a chili prawn linguine. I played with her cats, Farage and Mussolini. She left one night saying I was just a sleaze. She'd found all my Billy Bragg CDs. Now, when I hear those drums are beating, I think of our love that was so fleeting. My fascist girlfriend, not politically correct. My fascist girlfriend, lacking in respect. My fascist girlfriend, she's gone away. My fascist girlfriend joined the KKK. Many days have passed now since she made her exit. I bet you that bastard voted for Brexit. That's it.
Very good.
I changed the word there. We're going to kind of
Just interrupting this was the kind of poem that we used to read out when we performed in poetry slams.
Aye, that's it. I did that in a poetry slam.
The poetry slam is an event where a very strange thing where poets get to stand up and compete with each other to try and win a round in a poetry slam. There's usually 3 rounds. It's very hard to get through to a final. I haven't been through to a final for some time myself. Have you ever been through to one?
No, I'm not camping off. Oh, I could do this one. This is one. Right, I'll do 2 more. That's it.
Okay.
And you can, this one's called. I called it CC to protect the guilty.
CC to protect the guilty.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's about somebody that came and tried to take over the local music scene. And basically, she pissed a lot of people off. So just called CC. CC. A storm blew down the west coast one winter, fueled by venom, ice and fire. She tried to break and bend the people's will to gain her heart's desire. Full of her own self-importance and way too fond of her own voice, she made the people listen. Well, they really had no choice. Without humanity, grace and charm, she thought she could do no wrong. Then all too soon the people grew so tired of her voice. She wasn't a gale, she was merely a breeze. She's about welcome as a social disease. She thought she could bring us all to our knees. She wasn't a gale, just merely a breeze.
Very good.
Enjoy that.
I've met people like that.
Anyway, you remember her?
I remember her well, yes.
And this is we'll do this last one, because I could do some others, but... So the thing that bugs me, you go and see certain people and they do the same 5 or 6 poems again and again and again.
Yeah, that's another thing in the poetry scene, Robert. We get these people who have very long introductions, much longer than the poems, and then they do 3 poems, and then you go to another event and they do the same 3 poems, and they've had the same 6 poems, and they just perm everything from 6 poems, and they do it for years. That's it.
You're not talking about in particular, really? Just general.
No, I'm not talking about anybody called...
Right, okay, but before you get the lawyers involved. Anyway, right, so this is called A Fruity Lament. This was based in Benny Hill. Because I was trying to write, if Benny Hill was writing a poem, what would they write about? And he always had because the great song he did, one of my favourites, Garden of Love. The line I really love in that is the fungus in the garden reminds me of the fungus is having with you. Anyway, so, A Fruity Lament. Life was a peach. When I had you, you were the apple of my eye. I was plumb out of luck the day you said goodbye. I tried to call you on your BlackBerry. The orange network, it was down. I was the most melancholy boy in town. I felt such a gooseberry when I saw you and your current boyfriend. Our bowl of cherries was at an end. You took the Bananarama CDs, took you on the coconuts, and orange juice too. Well, why did you take the pineapple? What is wrong with you?
So, Robert, just to wrap up the podcast, are you continuing to write these days?
No, I hate it.
Yeah.
No, that's why I've continued to write and silly songs. I've actually been writing some songs recently.
You've been writing some songs and
no, we can't mention that.
Well, we can't mention it. Okay,
No,
we're
we
not
can't,
mentioning the songs.
No, my other half, Debbie, she's recording some of them. So there's another songwriter on there, a local guy called Scott Nichol. And there's another, he's a local guy called Alec True.
I've heard of him. So, eventually we might have an album to feature on this podcast, is that correct?
What album?
Well...
Oh, Debbie's album?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
If I let you.
We'll think about it.
But how would you about doing the music on it?
That's a thought. Well, thank you, Robert. Thanks for letting me interview you today.
And I could just say this show was sponsored by Bad Hand Billy Rides Again. It's a cowboy book by Alec Frew. Available from Amazon and no other outlets whatsoever.
On that note,
you can have a physical copy, you can have a digital copy.
Thank you, Robert.
And Alec will even come to your house and read it for a small fee.
Exactly. And everybody can afford 50p.
Right.
Thank you, Robert.
Okay.
A mighty crack of thunder shoot the sky. Something in the shadows caught my eye. His body was a mass of feathers, hair, and scales. Out of his throat came the most unearthly wails. He grabbed me tight and I couldn't break free. I just stared at him and he stared at me. Did you see the demon I saw last night? His horns...
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us for our new podcast from Write Up. My name's Alex Frew and I've been interviewing the inimitable Robert Neal. I hope you enjoyed this podcast as much as I enjoyed making it. And join us again for our next one. Take care. All the music in this podcast was provided by members of Southwest Writers and from the album that we'd previously made called Ayrshire Poet, towards which Robert contributed. The final music was provided by Neon Tetrahedron, and you can find his channel on YouTube. This was a Southwest Writers production from Alex Frew. Goodbye.